everyone, welcome to Quilts on Tour. Today I'm going to show you how to make little hexagons for English paper piecing. Here's one with the fabric already on, and I'll do another video to show you how I sew the fabric onto the shapes. So today though I'm going to do hexagons. You can use your Cricut Maker to make any shape that you want, but I like the hexagons and I'm almost out, so I need to make more. So I figured I'd make a video to show you how I did it. For those that don't know, when you go to measure a hexagon, this one is considered a 1-inch hexagon, and it's measured on the side. So from one point to the other is 1 inch. You can make these any shape that you want, either smaller or bigger or anything, but I like the 1 inch, so that's what we're going to cut out today. But you can use these instructions to cut out any size. You would just adjust the measurements here on the side. So all you really need is your maker, a computer, and some cardstock. This is 80 weight cardstock, and I'm actually using some really ugly cardstock that I have that I would never use in a card. So it's a great way to use up some scrap cardstock. So let's go ahead and open up our software. We're using Cricut Design Space, which comes with when you purchase a Cricut machine, and I have a Cricut Maker. And we'll go ahead and hit Shapes and pick the hexagon. And I usually always change the color to white. I just find that that's easier to see. You can see the black outline really well. That's just a preference. You don't need to change it if you don't want to. And we'll go ahead and zoom in on the hexagon. And the grids here on Design Space are 1 inch. So that's what we want our sides here to fit into, that 1 inch. So I'm going to shrink down the hexagon a little bit and put it from one side of the grid, and we want it to measure to the other side. And the more that you zoom in, the easier it will be to get the side of your hexagon to the right size. So we'll expand the hexagon a little bit more, and sometimes it moves over when you expand, so we just keep adjusting it until it fits right between those lines on the grid mark. And that looks there's a little bit over there, so let's make it a little more and move it over. That looks pretty good. So you can see from this point here to this point here is 1 inch. So let's go ahead and zoom back to 100%. So I'm going to show you how to cut out a bunch of these. I need a bunch of these. But you don't have to make a bunch of these in Design Space. Once you click on Make It, we can select how many we want to make. So we're going to hit Make It, and the copies are 50. We can fit 15 of these hexagons on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So I changed the copies to 15 and click Apply. And then we need to change the material size to 8.5 by 11. And you can see here now it's lined up all of our little hexagons in a row, ready to print out. So then you just hit Continue. You select your material. I have the medium cardstock already saved as a favorite, so we'll click on that. And where it says to load the material, so we're using the fine point blade, and that's already set up in my maker. So we're going to put our cardstock here on the mat, push it down. I use the blue light grip mat for pretty much everything. There's the green regular grip, but I think it's still too sticky for most projects. If I'm not cutting something out intricate, I use these light grips because it's so much easier to peel the paper off from. So we're just going to load the Cricut. So you put it in the little grooves. You hit the blinking arrow, loads the mat then you hit the blinking C. So it's all done. And before we take this off the mat, I want to show you a trick on how to keep printing out more, because I want to print out probably about 10 sheets of these. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it without turning on Cricut and everything like that, or the Design Space. So I have another mat here loaded. I haven't changed anything in Design Space. All you have to do is reload your machine. So you just hit the blinking arrow, and you would hit the blinking C again. You don't have to remake it and hit make it in your Cricut or in Design Space. You just have to use these buttons again. So you can keep continuously printing the same design over and over in Design Space just by utilizing your buttons. So this is perfect if you're going to print out or cut out a bunch of different shapes for this purpose, or even if you're making a bunch of cards. You don't have to reload the shape into Design Space. You can just keep cutting it out. So we'll unload this mat. So now I want to show you how to easily remove your shapes from your mat. So when you're using a Cricut for anything, it's always best to remember you're not removing the paper from the mat, you want to remove the mat from the paper. So usually I just flip my mat upside down and you just give it a little bend, and as you can see, because we use the light grip, and this is not very sticky, they pop off. But this technique works for anything, especially if you have an intricate design on your cardstock that you're cutting out. Just remember, remove your mat from your paper, not your paper from your mat. Here's the other one we did. So if you just flip it over and give it a little bend, it just pulls that paper right away, and you can easily pop these off. And you're not trying to scrape off that paper from the mat, and you don't damage your shapes. And that's super easy. I have some scrap paper, and that was a quick and easy way to cut out 30 hexagons. So on our next video, I'll show you how to cover your hexagons with the fabric and how I sew them together. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe.